In this video, I install a nice shiny new inlet manifold. Alright YouTube, welcome to another video. This is a very exciting one. So I bought this RRC inlet manifold for when I get a track car, an FN2 track car. But typically, I can't wait and I'm just going to put it on the show car behind me because it might take a while to get another FN2 and we don't want it sitting around gathering dust, do we? So yeah, this is what I'm installing today. It's a nice new shiny RRC inlet manifold. Right, so far I've just taken the slam panel off. I've removed the cover, little plastic cover from there. That's just two 10mm bolts. And then I've just removed the negative terminal from the battery. I'm just slackening off. Well, I'm going to take these two bolts out and the same the other side, and then I'll see what else I need to disconnect to move this out the way. So now I've removed the bolt that was there, and there, and then the bolt that was there and there. So that's those 8 down there. I've just pulled this cable out. There's two real pain in the arse clips which go into the back of this, to that one. There's one over there. And I've just disconnected what probably is the fan down there. Just got to find out what else is holding this in. I've just undone these 3 bolts here, which hold the bonnet catch on. Now I can lift it up mostly. I just got to pull that little clip out and then unclip the electrical connector from here as well, and I should be able to remove this. There's actually 2 clips on the underside of that red section, so I had to remove them. And then just unclip the little electrical socket, so I can just move that out of the way. I shall put that over here. Just put that there for the time being. As you can see, I can now remove the red section. I just put the bolts back so I don't lose them. I've just disconnected my homemade induction kit. I was going to completely remove it, but it's fine there I think, so I might just leave it there. Obviously disconnected these 2 as well from there. I've just disconnected the earth terminal for the electrical harness here. Disconnected the 4 injector electrical plugs, and I just unclipped the electrical harness from the fuel rail, which I'm not sure whether you'll be able to see. Basically you have to peel this bit, the middle bit, away towards the rocker cover. It's got a little catch inside it, you can just see it, which goes through the hole there, so you just ping that away to release those 2. I've just pinged this little cover off of the fuel connector there. Means you've got access to undo it then, or release it. There we go. Fuel rail's disconnected. You can just see where you squeeze the either end of that turquoise clip. So obviously you want to have left your car probably, I don't know how long, this has been stationary for a week or 2 to let the pressure release, but you're still going to get some fuel come out, so have some paper towel ready. I've got a load of clean bags, so I'm going to put those over things and probably chuck some clips on them, just try and make sure no bits get in them. The fuel rail is off, so those 2 nuts hold it on to the intake manifold. I've removed the 4 clips which hold the fuel rail onto the injectors, or the injectors onto the fuel rail. But then that one still decided it wanted to stay attached to the fuel rail. But there we are, never mind. The other three stayed in the inlet manifold, so I just had to pull them out. I need to remember to try and get some new seals to go on those. Hopefully I'd better get some of them quick. Watch out for extra fuel when you pull the fuel rail off. Get those of paper towel in there ready. As you can see, I've just blocked up the holes, stop any crud getting in. Right, so I've just been working my way around, trying to test that I can actually undo the bolts that go from the inlet manifold to the actual block of the engine. The top four seem to be alright. I just did them with a 12mm spanner and they undid alright. A couple of taps with a hammer to get them going. Now I've just done the first one of the ones underneath, and I thought I'd start with the trickiest one, the one on the far left. But I've just got it to crack, so it's just started moving, which is a relief. Let me show you what I've done. So hopefully you can see the socket on it there. It's not going to focus down there. If I wiggle it a little bit. Right, so there's my socket on down there. You can just see it through the gap. And what I've had to do is, so I've got a 12mm socket down there. I've got the smallest extension bars I've confined. And I've got one of those little like knuckle things. Let me grab my light. One of those little knuckle things. I could do with 3 arms here. So I've got one of those little knuckles where you can come at it with a slightly different angle. And then, I mean, this is a bit long really, it's flexing a bit when I was trying to undo it. Could probably do with a slightly shorter one. And there's my ratchet. So yeah, it took a bit of force, but it just started turning. So you can sort of put a slight bit of angle in all the extensions. That's what I've found you had to do. So there's what I used there. If I just pull the end bit off, you can see that you have to come down from above. Once you get down there, you can then rotate and then get it onto the bolt. But you do need these thinner ones. The way I did it, you definitely need these thinner extensions. I probably could have got away with 2 that long. Don't know how long that is. Don't know, 5 inches maybe. But yeah, that was pretty useful. So now I need to try and undo. There's one there, you can see between the 2 bits of black pipe, and then the other one is through there. There you can see it now. I forgot to mention I took the PCV hose off just to give me a bit more space. So I've just started slackening off the second bolt from the left. So I've got a 12mm socket again, and I've got a 3/8 extension and like a knuckle adapter, so I can come in at a slightly different angle. I just disconnected those 2 coolant lines on the throttle body and just used my improvised bungs. So I've disconnected that electrical connector there, the one on top as well. And I've just loosened this. I'm going to take this off as well, this little bracket that holds this cable. Just removed a bolt, a nut, and a bolt. So those ones there. Just giving that a little wiggle, and it's come free from the manifold. So I shall take that off. Alright, so that little bolt down there is a lot easier once you remove the throttle body. Means you've got this extra bit of space here. So yeah, I've got my 12mm socket, one of those little knuckle extensions, so I can come in at a different angle, and then probably an 8-inch extension, and my ratchet. I've just cracked that one loose. Just got this one left to do. Hopefully I can just do that one without the knuckle adapter. Right, so I've slackened off all 8 of the manifold bolts or nuts, and I've just slackened this one off. I should be taking that one off. I can just about get to it with the 12mm spanner. I just had to put another spanner on for a bit of leverage. A magnet is pretty handy, especially when you're doing the one that's down there underneath, because you can't get your hand onto it. So yeah, just leave the last few turns and do it with that. Just going to get the 2 studs out now. So if you just get 2 nuts, tighten them up against each other, and then just undo the inside one, and it should wind out the stud. Right, there we are. The old OEM intake manifold is off. Once you remove these studs, it makes it a lot easier. There's the bracket there, which holds it from underneath. So I've just bunged this pipe up with an extension. This is the pipe that goes underneath and connects to the manifold down there. I should have probably taken that off first to get some coolant out, or to stop so much leaking out, but I just could not get it off. So I had to wait until I freed the manifold up. That's why there's so much coolant on the floor. So I thought I'd spend a nice relaxing evening after work, swapping all the bits over between the 2 manifolds. It's nice to be able to actually sit down and do something. Getting old. So let me show you what I've done. So this connector here, you just unscrew and pop out. So that kind of, you'll notice that's back to front now. So the lead's going to have to come around this way rather than go around that way. I've been pulling out all the various inserts and putting them into this one. So that one underneath there, the one that mounts onto that bracket underneath that sort of takes the weight of this. So we've got these ones as well. So I've got these 2, I've got a bolt, well 2 bolts I guess. One's a kind of insert-y thing, anyway. So I've got those 2 things, soaking in some rust remover, because I thought it'd be a shame to put some grotty old bits back on this. I've got the long one, which is that one, and I've also got the earth or neutral, negative, whatever it is. I'm not sure I'm going to actually use these because I'll probably leave the cover off / the cover won't fit. I'm not quite sure, but I probably won't put it on anyway, just so you can show off that it's an RRC one. As you can see, I've switched this over, and these 2 hoses. Now, no idea what the torque setting is for that. So yeah, I've just basically turned it, it's got tighter, and I mean you can't go too far because that needs to go down to the throttle body, if I remember right, and that one's got to go over there, so I don't know, you can't go too much past it, otherwise it's not gonna, this hose won't line up. So hopefully that's tight enough. Right, so I've just been cleaning up where the gasket was on the engine block and also the gasket on the throttle body, just with some throttle body cleaner, a cloth, and very carefully with a Stanley knife. I noticed there was a bit of coolant on the 4th cylinder on top of one of the inlet valves, so I soaked that up. I've probably done something wrong that maybe stops that happening. Maybe if you take that pipe off underneath the inlet manifold before you take the inlet manifold off, but I couldn't actually get it off, so that's why I didn't do that. Or maybe you're just supposed to drain the coolant first, I don't know, so worth thinking about. I should do an oil change straight afterwards in case any seep through. There we are, nice clean surface, well as clean as it's going to get anyway. Right, so I put the manifold in place. I haven't properly tightened it up yet because I'm soaking these 2 nuts at the moment. Just tightened up enough just to hold it properly. I had to sort of put it roughly in place and then get that hose back on underneath. I've noticed that this doesn't line up anymore, so it's pretty pointless putting that threaded insert back in because there's nothing to bolt into. I don't know whether I presume it doesn't need it. I've had to cut down the PCV valve hose because that goes in down here, and that's it. It feels like I've done more. I put bits of paper towel in just to block up the holes again. and I shall pick this up tomorrow. Right, so I've got some nice clean nuts and bolts from soaking in that stuff overnight. I've just grabbed my torque wrenches as well, so I can torque up, hopefully going by the generic Honda Civic torque specs. I'm going to torque the old inlet manifold up. I'm not sure what to do about this because that bracket no longer supports it. I don't know whether it needs to or not, because this is a bit lighter, or whether I should just try and sort of fashion a piece of metal that goes between and sort of bridges that gap. Not quite sure, I need to have a little think about it. Right, so it's all about just reassembly now. I've torqued up the bolts and nuts on the manifold. I don't know, online it says 17 foot-pounds I think, and the same in the generic Honda Haynes manual. But it didn't feel like enough, so I've tightened it slightly more. Probably best to use your own judgment on that. Follow what I do. It just didn't feel tight enough. Seems to be the same torque for the throttle body nuts and bolts as well. I've had to have a play around with this cable, release it from this bracket here, because of the sensors back to front now. I need it to be able to come in from the other side, so I may have to tidy up this cable at some point. Right, so I've just been working my way through my list. If you're anything like me and your memory is absolutely crap, I can't recommend enough writing down everything. I'd fail miserably otherwise. Yeah, so I've just been working my way backwards through the list. I found that it was easier to get the injectors in if you attach them to the fuel rail first and then push it into the manifold. Saying that, I haven't pressurised the fuel yet, so it could have been completely wrong. I've had a bit of a pain with my homemade induction kit, because I think the throttle body on the RRC comes off more of an angle that way. On the old one it's kind of that way, so I've had to adjust this so it still fits, so that's a bit of a pain in the ass. Right, so I've run out of time for today. I think I've done everything apart from properly bolting in the sort of red structural brace thing at the front and attaching the bonnet release mechanism, but I thought I might as well leave that and then do an oil change in the coolant just to check everything's alright before I start putting all that stuff back on. So yeah, let me give you a little look. So there we are. So like I said, I haven't put this stuff on properly yet, but it's looking cool. It's not a lot of clearance there. Hopefully that won't be an issue. I'm sure people would have said about it if it was. I know they don't look as fancy as some of the Skunk 2 stuff, but this is all about going for performance. And this is will cost me about 450 quid, so it's a lot cheaper than the Skunk 2 as well. So we shall see. It's kind of like an OEM plus sort of look to it. Alright guys, just filling the coolant up, using one of these for the first time to do the bleeding. I've seen them on Cowabunga Car Diary, seen Chrissy using one, so thought I shall give it a go. I'm not really sure when it's completely bled, but I need to heat the oil up anyway because I want to do an oil change. Right, so it's the next day now. I've just come out to check the coolant level and the engine oil. Just need a little bit of extra engine oil, and the coolant, touch wood, is fine. I had a quick look under the car and on the trays underneath, and hopefully there's no leaks. It was not too bad a job in hindsight. I think you could probably do it again in half the time, I reckon. It's probably harder to get the old one off than put the new one on. Got to make sure you get those studs out because that makes it so much easier. So yeah, in hindsight, it's not too bad a job really. Right, so don't forget to subscribe because coming up very soon, I'm going for a trip to Dyno Days to get the Piper Sports Cat, Piper exhaust manifold, and I've got M2 center section just here out of view to go on, and a remap. So I'm hoping big gains, but it'd be nice to touch 230, but
probably won't, I don't think. So I'll be conservative and say maybe 225. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe so you can see what I finally make. As for this video, thanks for watching as always. Please like, chuck a comment down below, hit the old notifications bell, and I shall see you on the next one. Cheers guys.